Oh, yeah.
Matchup that I don't want is having John Maakaron. I don't want no smoke with him at all. I don't. But the doc, he's blessing us with an appearance today like he does every single week. So let's welcome into the show, publisher of All Lions and host of the Detroit Sports Podcast. Check out All Lions, man. John is grinding. Link is in the description. It's really where I get all my Lions news. And please welcome in John Maakaron. John!
Fellas,
Look at you, John.
Man, I'm feeling good. Tan as can be, having a good time. Started the week golfing. Now minicamp. I'm having a good time. And as someone said, yes, of course, finishing the day off strong.
Yes, sir.
Boys, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to talking minicamp or whatever it is you fellas want to talk about. It's been a great day. I'm pinching myself. Got to watch Lions football and talk to Jared Goff and had a one-on-one chat with Sione Vaki. And it was a good day today. Minicamp's been fun. I've been enjoying it. For many of the reporters, it's winding down because next Monday is the last media session. But I kind of just wish it wouldn't end. I'm kind of feeling in the groove and wanting to keep talking about and following this football team that's starting to look like one of the best football teams in the NFL. And it's great to be around it.
Yeah, John, I mean, I'll start off, and we got a lot of questions for you because obviously you were there. You got to see minicamp. I'll start by asking you this. Amik Robertson, hearing him speak, and Amik is somebody, there's so many guys in this secondary, especially at corner, that are going to be competing. And Amik Robertson just seems like not only the coaches love him, but I'm starting to love this guy, John Maakaron. And I want you to give your thoughts on just how he's looked so far. And I think there's a really good chance that you see him starting or at least playing a lot of snaps come the season. But what's been kind of your takeaway from Amik Robertson so far with the Detroit Lions?
No doubt. Competitive. And you recognize this is a football player that when he came from the Raiders had everything on tape that the Lions like. He's competitive, he's gritty, and he makes plays. And look, he's going to give up a play and then he'll come back and battle. He had a nice pass breakup today at minicamp. He's around the football. And you look at it and you got a guy that embodies what the coaching staff wants. He does everything that they will ask of him. If he needs to be on the outside, he'll go there. If he needs to play nickel, he'll be there. He'll just be somebody that is an upgrade over what they had last year. And you recognize the competition level that you have, like you guys were talking before I came on with Iffy in regards to the room. When you have great competition, that's just going to be great for Rakestraw to see what a pro looks like out there at that spot. And you just have, when you have players like an Amik Robertson that can do it all and can produce at a higher level than what you've had, that gives Aaron Glenn options. And that's all you can ask for is that, hey, if he needs to be in the nickel for a spell, then he can be there. If it's Brian Branch, that's a great opportunity. I was just talking with the other writers at All Lions, just saying, man, the opportunity that we get to see in terms of mixing and matching in the secondary. Dan Campbell said it on Tuesday. He said, I don't know who the starters are in this secondary. And that just can give a guy like Amik Robertson a lot of confidence that he can do a lot of things. And if he plays well in the preseason and he's out there making plays and in training camp, then look for him to get a lot of reps, like you guys said. And I just think that his impact in the room can only be great for Amik, for Ennis Rakestraw, who's also now getting in there, getting in the mix and learning the game.
Yeah, and I want to bring up defense as well here, Doc. Obviously, you were watching both of the practices yesterday and today, and some of the biggest news, especially at the defensive line, Levi Onwuzurike, and in back-to-back days, I think Dan Campbell's mentioned him, and then he's followed it up with big days. It sounds like, what do you think's going on with Levi and Josh Pascal, and even with that kind of extending it, the Broderick Martins and Mekhi Wingos and just that defensive line in general too. I know we were actually talking before the show about Davenport, like he's hurt already, and it's like, what's going on with him? But what's your assessment of this defensive line and especially the Levi Onwuzurike news?
Yeah, it's great news. Look, you recognize that this is a guy that's battled with a back injury. If you remember, go back to when he was drafted. I don't know if they probably blurred it out, but he came in and he was like, I'm coming here to fuck shit up. That's what he said to the reporters day one on Zoom. He was like, I'm here to cause havoc. And then unfortunately, kind of has gone down the injury path, hasn't had much impact on this defensive line, but he's bulked up, he's healthy, and he's a guy that's battled. And that's something that earns a lot of respect and credibility with the coaching staff, somebody that's grinding. And listen, there's not many regrets I have covering a football team, but when Dan Campbell says we're only in pajamas, it stinks that there's no hitting. because there would have been moments, guys, where Levi Onwuzurike would have destroyed Hendon Hooker and Jared Goff. It's great to see when he gets his bull rush in there and he has an opportunity to battle and get there. He would have sacked the quarterback a couple times today, and one of them he would have directly smashed right into Hendon Hooker. It would have been great to see live. So this is a guy that is going to need to battle for a roster spot because he is behind Josh Pascal, maybe even behind the others as well in terms of Kaminsky and the new additions as well. So he's going to need to battle. He is probably right now, look for it later this week, we'll do probably a revised depth chart or a revised 53-man roster projection. But right now he's looking as a guy that's on the outside looking in, but with a nice training camp, with solid productivity. He's put together nice mini camp performances. And he said, look, yeah, he did take the compliment from Dan Campbell. But again, it's always prefaced by they're not wearing pads. They're not going exactly full on. But there are competitive periods. They are battling. They are grinding. And when training camp comes, we're going to pay attention to a name to watch is Levi Onwuzurike. If he can contribute, that's another option you have to sack the quarterback. And this is a guy that's going to be looking to stay in the league. And if it's not in Detroit, he's going to be looking to put some quality tape for the rest of the league. And so at 300 pounds, he says that, he's adapting to it well. And his job is to go out there and make plays. And I think he's going to be able to compete at a high level on this defensive line. And I just think that it's going to be great to see when training camp rolls around.
Yeah, Doc, and a guy that I told you a couple weeks ago that I wanted to hear from more on a regular basis, but you just said that you had a chance to talk with him one-on-one, and that's Sione Vaki. What are your takeaways so far for my favorite pick in this draft?
Yeah, it's always great when the crew is walking out. And so I caught him when he was walking with the rest of the running backs. So it's 50-50 if they're going to say, hey, yeah, I'll talk to you when they're walking all together. But he was gracious with his time. And he gave me about 5-6 minutes. And I asked him kind of, look, clearly you are a rookie and they're going to throw a bunch at you. And he's like, yeah. And pay attention. If you guys haven't read it, I did a one-on-one interview and I transcribed all my questions and exactly what he said. And what's great to see, and sometimes they don't talk about it, it's NFL football, even at minicamp. They are chewing these guys out on a daily basis. If you're not lining up properly, dropping the football, making a mistake, it's not nice. And for the great thing about having teammates is there's camaraderie, and David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs and Craig Reynolds are taking him aside and sharing their experiences being a young football player. But when he makes a mistake, he corrects it. And he had his redemption play. If you guys read the observations at All Lions or elsewhere, you saw that Vaki made a highlight play on Tuesday. And he said, look, that was my redemption play because I ran a terrible route the play before, and he came back and made up for it. So that's what the beauty of having minicamp is right now, is that these players can learn. They're getting everything thrown at them. And he told me, he's like, today it was kind of a culmination of the coaching staff giving the playbook, having a opportunity to go through everything that was learned through rookie minicamp all at once today. And so it was a big test for the offense and for the young players to kind of see, okay, how have you progressed? What have you picked up? Where are the areas that you're lacking? And for Vaki, he said, look, there are areas that you need to continue to grow at, but his first opportunities are going to be on special teams. Clearly, he knows right now he's behind Craig Reynolds for RB3, but the man has talent. He works hard. He's very smart. He understands everything, and he's a grinder. He's a pro. And Scotty Montgomery said, look, we don't have to worry about this specific player putting in the work and learning. But I just love to hear that he welcomes getting coached hard, and he welcomes the opportunity each and every time to go out there and improve. And I think that, look, for a young player, this is the craziest time of their life because it doesn't slow down. It's not like, best way to put it, for those of you that are educated, it's like a final exam every single week. And you don't have the whole semester to learn it. You got a week. And you get all the information and let's go apply it. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get yelled at. But in the end, it's going to make you better. And for the running backs room, it's a tight-knit group already. And he does crack jokes. David Montgomery did say to the reporters yesterday that he does get silly and crack some jokes. And look, each room, you can tell, probably has its own unique vibe. And that running backs room can probably be very entertaining with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and now Vaki in there, along with Hulu, Netflix, Craig Reynolds. That room can be very, very entertaining. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that room. But Vaki, very personable, very serious. And I thought that the opportunity to talk to him, I probably will also release the audio on a podcast this week, maybe in the recap podcast that we do. So look for it there. But right now it's live on All Lions. You can read exactly word for word what he said. And I think that he left an impression on the coaching staff in the pre-draft process. And I think out there on the field, when he's going to have his opportunity, it's going to be on special teams, but he's going to be someone that's going to develop and have a chance to really make plays in the future.
Yeah. And Doc, just wanted a little update on Carlton Davis. Obviously, it's still early and whatnot, but how has cornerback 1 look?
Yeah, Carlton Davis has impressed me. True pro. When you look at it, you say, why is that cornerback room revamped? Why are the coaching staff so excited? These guys understand what it takes and the mantra that it takes. And starting with the defensive line, the secondary, they're not pulling no punches. They don't want to take no shit. They don't want to be known as the reason why this football team stinks. And so Carlton Davis has the swagger that you want at that spot. You guys talked about Terrion Arnold and what he can bring. If you combine that with Carlton Davis, I just hope maybe Davis stays a year beyond 2024 and has an opportunity to come back, because I think he's got a lot to play for. And I think you're going to get the best version of this defensive back. He wants to face off against the best competition. And in the NFC, you're going to have the great opportunity. Now, can he be a true lockdown number 1? I mean, it's very hard in this day and age in this NFL to truly lock someone down. But I think that, again, you're going to see a competitor out there. And I think he's going to have his fair share of pass breakup. He looks the part. And I think today he gave up a bomb to Jamison Williams, but that's in 7-on-7 where it's a little bit easier offensively. But in team drills, he's always exactly where he needs to be. He has the presence of someone that knows exactly what he needs to be doing. And it's just a great addition. I've been impressed. I think that he's around the football. I think that he's probably outside of Khalif Raymond has been someone that's been the most consistent day in, day out when he's out there. He just knows what he needs to do, a true pro, and definitely an upgrade over the new Pittsburgh Steeler, Cam Sutton. I can't believe they looked at him and said, let's bring him back. They said, I talked to the Steelers reporter, and he told me because there were reports that the Steelers were looking for a veteran, and the Steelers reporter was like, it's going to be Cam Sutton. It's going to piss everybody off. And I said, really? Did the Steelers not watch film? Cam Sutton was god-awful last year, but they took a chance and brought him back. They know the system. Mike Tomlin has a reclamation project to try and fix whatever it was that Cam Sutton was trying to accomplish. But, man, Carlton Davis is an upgrade over Cam Sutton by a wide margin.
And John, too, one thing we always discuss, we've had debates about this here on the show. Lukas and Booner, very high on Jahmyr Gibbs. They do. They think Jahmyr Gibbs has one of the best in the NFL, that type of potential. And I don't think they're crazy for that, but where I'm coming from with it, and I think Gentry kind of aligns with this as well, because he's always been pumping up Dave Montgomery. His value to this team, and I'll ask you, for Jahmyr to reach that ceiling, what do you think the load will look like between the two? Because I think in terms of touches, you could definitely give it to Jahmyr in terms of what he can do in the passing game. And they mentioned him being more of a slot receiver. But in terms of carries, John, am I crazy to think that it will be somewhat similar to last year, maybe a little more for Gibbs because they kind of eased him along to start? But I don't see this being like a 60-40 Gibbs to Montgomery. I see it being a 55-45, more of a comparison there. But what's your thoughts on how they split carries with Jahmyr? Just Jahmyr's a good player, but how do you balance all that?
Yeah, it's great. Great option to have. You guys talked about it. You saw David Montgomery's peanut butter and jelly reference started by Scotty Montgomery. It's a great mix. And look, you saw kind of how it was last year where, early on you had David Montgomery's really underrated. I think somebody that can pound the rock and really wear down a team early. But look, guys, I think that pretty clearly it's going to be when Jahmyr Gibbs gets into fifth gear, I think that you're going to start to see somebody that's going to impress not only Lions fans, but the rest of the league. I think he's got the speed. He's got the acumen. He's going to learn exactly which holes to hit at the right time. And when he gets it going into fifth gear, it's going to be hard not to give him the football. And you recognize now that he's been challenged to be a better pass catcher, to truly be Alvin Kamara. And if you guys play fantasy, back in the day, Alvin Kamara was the shit. You needed him on your fantasy team. And I think that for the Lions offense, if Jahmyr Gibbs is a true competitor, he's going to want the football 60 to 65% of the time. Handoffs, screens, intermediate passes and over the middle, maybe even out wide in certain scenarios. But I think that, look, it's just a great option for Ben Johnson to have based on matchups that, hey, you're going to want to run the football at a high rate. And it's just a great change of pace when you can throw Jahmyr Gibbs out there, who's a speedster and can break any run for a touchdown. And then you can wear down teams later on with David Montgomery. So it's going to be very fascinating early in the season to see the distribution. But I think you're not too far off. I do think, though, that by and large, when you look at who has the higher ceiling, it's Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to be a superstar. And when a guy like Louis Riddick, who doesn't typically blow smoke, when he sees a player and says there's a chance that this player, Jahmyr Gibbs, could be league MVP, what are we talking about here? This is a guy that you can give the football to 15 times a game, whether it be a combination of runs and passes, and let him cook and handle his business. So the stock is high on Jahmyr Gibbs. Get him early on your fantasy team. He's going to blow up. He's going to put up stats. And the number one thing is if he stays healthy. We haven't seen him, and that kind of stinks. That's probably the only drawback. He's got a soft tissue injury at minicamp, so we see him out there, but he's not participating. But I can't wait for training camp, because when it gets going and when it's live, Jahmyr Gibbs is poised to be an NFL superstar. You can just almost feel it.
Oh,
yeah. Well said, Doc.
Yeah, and I need to make it clear too, Doc. Jeff didn't throw this in there. I am all in on Jahmyr Gibbs. I do think his ceiling is one of the highest in the NFL. I did yesterday admit I was wrong when it came to DeMont, though, because what DeMont said yesterday, saying that those two him and Jahmyr Gibbs are essentially in agreement that, hey, we need to help each other out so we can play in all 17 games. I took back. I said I was wrong. DeMont's going to get some carry. He's going to get his carries this year, and he is an absolute dog in this league. So I want that on the record for a second straight day, Jeff Iafrate, that I was wrong. I don't say it a lot, but I will say it for that.
That is fair. That is fair. Real quick before Luke goes, you guys know how if I draft a running back, I'm going to use them. But in this situation, you have Dave Montgomery. You have two great backs. So that's kind of where I was coming from there. And I would assume the Lions want to keep them healthy. But yeah, it was a great conversation to have. But go ahead, Lucas.
I want to throw this out to you, Doc. Jeff, you got to lock in over there, brother. You got to absolutely lock in. Come on, man. Get your stuff together. The Jahmyr Gibbs stuff has you rattled. Doc, want to ask you this, though, about the wide receiver room. We did have the conversation a couple segments ago about this wide receiver. Like, we keep hearing Amon-Ra St. Brown and J-Mo obviously is turning out to be 1 and 2. The Khalif Raymond thing, obviously, today feels like he's going to take a big role here in this offense, as we've seen in the past. What's going on, though, outside of that? Like I mentioned today, I haven't heard much about DPJ a ton, which is a little shocking to us, because that was supposed to be that Josh Reynolds replacement, essentially with J-Mo. We haven't heard much about him the last week or two, and you're starting to hear names like Darius Fountain and Antoine Green, and you're starting to hear different names. What was your kind of outlook seeing practice yesterday and today in that wide receiver room, especially when it comes to DPJ? Is there something going on there?
Yeah, real fast. The chat was great. Detroit Supremacy read my mind as you were talking about your love for Gibbs. He writes, "What player don't you like?" It's like, I love this player. I love that player. That player's not my thing. That's hilarious, because that is a good question. Maybe one at the end. Which player don't you like? Let's hate a little bit. Some things you don't like. And then John Hughes is a great question. Look, I am not intentionally trying to get in the camera, but I am big personality, but I'm a shorter stature. I'm about 5'4". So when you hold out the phone I need the audio to be clear. So I try to stand close to the players. And yes, I'm aware of where the cameras are. And so I try to be to the immediate left of a player so I can get the audio, because I'm using a phone. I do have the other type of recorder, which is probably more powerful, but I use a phone. So I try to stand as close as possible, because the players are a little bit soft-spoken. They don't know that you got to step up to the mic and boom into it so we can all hear you. So I have to be accurate. So I try to stand as close as possible to get the audio and the information. So yeah, you will see me out there. I am close to the players, but hey, it's a good situation to have, because that's how I report accurately, to make sure that every word is exactly right. Because at this level at SI, if I print wrong information, I'm going to hear about it from a lot of different people. And you guys in the chat are nice, but the critics that read information are not so nice. So I make sure that every word is proofread and it's done accurately. Now, the wide receivers, the reason why you don't hear about DPJ, it's great. I ran into him. I can't really say where, but I ran into him over the weekend, and it was just a friendly head nod, and he acknowledged that he knew me, and it was quick like that. But he's like that. He's quiet. The reason why you're not going to really read about him too much is that he's very soft-spoken. Like, he's all about business. He had a couple catches today. He's all professional, all business. I'm not so sure that he likes talking to the media. I think he's a nice individual, but I think he's all about business. And so for that, it makes it hard to just go up to him. But I may say, like, hey, get that connection in there and say, hey, here's a conversation. Maybe I'll try it tomorrow for you guys. You guys did notice I asked about bets, and I said in the chat yesterday, I asked for this show. That was it. I'm like, okay, I know the boys are curious about bets, so I asked Dan Campbell about bets for crunch time.
There we go.
Let's go, Doc. Come on.
Yes, sir. I knew you guys would talk about it. But the wide receivers room, Jared Goff said we should be talking about Khalif Raymond, because he's a true pro. He makes catches. He just does everything proficiently. And it's just tough because the first team offense you recognize is St. Brown and Jamison, and then Sam Laporta. DPJ has been doing a lot of second team work, and he's still catching up and doing things, but he's a pro. He makes catches. And unfortunately, the guy that's throwing him the ball is airmailing the shit out of the football in a lot of reps. So Hendon, DPJ needs to get more first team work. I hope he does. And maybe there'd be opportunities for him to make more plays. But Hendon Hooker is somebody that on the offense is just, look, man, he's a rookie and he ain't lighting it up. He had a nice deep touchdown. He found connections to the tight ends today. He got into a lot more rhythm, so he had a lot more positive plays. But, man, did he get his ass chewed out for fucking up royally a situation in which he needed to get the ball out quickly. And it was a situation in which which was great. It was here's the situation. Like 7 seconds left. We're down by 1, and you got to move this football. And he takes his sweet ass time, gets yelled at, and then his decision was, after taking his sweet ass time, was to throw the football in the middle of the field. And the coaching staff was pissed. They were like, "What the run it right." And so Hooker's learning the hard way, and we're all seeing it. And he threw another interception today. But this is all good for him. This is all good for Hendon Hooker. So the reason why you're not hearing about DPJ is Hooker is throwing the football all over the place, and it ain't to DPJ.
So is it fair to say, John, just because we did have this conversation earlier, and I just think to clear it all up, there's nothing to be concerned about as far as DPJ on the field with his performance? Just because Booner was talking about it, like we were all surprised that he wasn't brought up, and I was like, it's really hard for me not to see that DPJ is holding his own. Like, he's a vet. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this isn't a foreign situation to him. Yeah, no, look, you'll see a lot more when the opportunity comes at training camp. You might even see it more on Thursday. But here's the thing, and it's tough, is that the defense is playing at a higher level. They're competing. The guys on the second team defense are really grinding. The Gilmores of the world are really taking it to the Lions, and the defense is playing a lot better. So it's not like it's a situation in which you have to have it done right. And the defense is also competing at a very high level. The reason why you're not hearing a lot is he's not targeted as much. And it takes time. Chemistry takes time to deliver, to get going. But DPJ is running good routes. The game that he's got is he can win 50-50 balls. He can handle a lot of things, but things did kind of, it was crazy when you look at it. His situation with Cleveland was he burst onto the scene, had productivity, and then he fell off. So he's got to be able to kind of force his will to get the football. And on the second team, man, it's tough because you got a quarterback that's struggling. And he's developed chemistry with the tight ends, which is always the case because they're bigger and they're always right there around, the intermediate routes. And so DPJ, I think, is going to be an option at training camp. He's going to get his touches. And so I think for him, the best way to put it is the preseason games are going to be integral for a lot of people, maybe none so more than DPJ. He needs to show out a little bit and have opportunities to beat some of these other teams' defensive backs. So I do think he'll have an opportunity to compete. But like I said, like you guys said, there's the competition there at wide receiver 3 is tight. And we did a story at All Lions looking at it like, is that maybe the wide receiver competition is on par or as competitive as the secondary?
And you look at it and you see Antoine Green, Khalif Raymond, and others as well that are competing for touches. Whew, that's great. And you look at the tight ends, man. They're when you look at the tight end roster, there's guys competing for touches in this offense, and they're competing at a high level. So that can only be a great thing.
Should real quick, should the expectations of people, obviously the last like a month ago, everyone's expectations DPJ to have a big year. Should those expectations get like pulled back a little bit and say, hey, let's wait a little bit and let's see what happens? Or should people still have the same mindset when it comes to DPJ? Just to kind of follow that up.
No, expectations would be an okay year. I think that in this offense, man, the ball, look, you realize, I think that the way it's going to go, I think the way it's going to shake out, if it is the way it is today, it's going to be Khalif Raymond at wide receiver 3. Amon-Ra is going to get a shit ton of targets. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get a lot of targets. J-Mo is going to get a lot of targets. Sam Laporta and Brock Wright are going to get a lot of targets. So he's going to need to establish himself where the target is going to go for DPJ, so he's going to have an opportunity to really demand the football, because there is so much to go around in terms of high-end talent. It's just really tough to say, hey, let's target DPJ. Yeah, I do think that he's going to have opportunities and get, 40 to 50% of offensive snaps. But I just think that, man, he's got to work hard to get open and make a name for himself. So I think right now, cautiously optimistic on DPJ, but I don't think that you can expect him to have a big year. I would expect J-Mo to have a spectacular year. He's hungry. He wants it. And I asked Jared Goff today, I said, what do you think about J-Mo? And Jared told me that, hey, this guy's getting hard on himself. He wants to be elite. He doesn't want to just be somebody that just is out there. He wants to be playing at a high level. He's getting mad at himself over every incompletion, and he's talking shit over every great completion. So that's the sign of somebody great. And he's coming on strong. But again, in practice, you're going to read about always makes great catches and has drops. That's just the way it is in practice. But I just got a good feeling that if you want someone to have right now stock high, it's Jameson Williams. Big things I think are coming.
Way more coming. And yeah, Doc, Goff, obviously he spoke pretty highly about Terrion Arnold. Just a quick update on him and how he's fitting in Allen Park.
Yeah, it kind of stunk that the first day he wasn't there, and you got a chance to see him. And whew, he does, like you guys said, has that swagger, has that aura. Like, you just want to pay attention to him, talk to him. I think he did talk to a reporter, so I'll shout him out. Will Birchfield does a spectacular job at 97.1. So look for him. I don't know if its article's up already. I'll look when I'm done. But he did speak to a single reporter today, so maybe that information is already out. But he's got a nickname already, Sub-Zero. And if you check out our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast, I had the camera on him. Man, you see that footwork that he displays? He's quick, agile, knows what he's doing, got the swagger, got it all. And I just think that when you see a player of his caliber, clearly, I hope that training camp will produce when Dan Campbell finally has the 53-man roster set. I hope it's Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold. And I think that will give you a great opportunity for him to learn and have an opportunity to get out there. And it may not be like, okay, ceremonial, maybe the first couple reps go to Amik Robertson or somebody else. But I think Terrion Arnold, if he has a whole training camp, a month worth of work, I mean, it would be hard pressed for me to see him not being opposite of Carlton Davis. I think he's got it all. He's got swagger, confidence. He definitely understands what he's got going on. I mean, you're wearing number 0. It takes confidence to wear number 0. And I just think that, look, when you come into the league and you declare your goal is to be a Hall of Famer, what does that tell you? That means probably right now he's not drinking Modelo and talking on a podcast. He's probably watching film of the Vikings and getting his stuff in order. And
getting ready to pick off JJ.
I encourage you, if you haven't seen it, he dropped a 30-minute video. And I like these young guys because they're all into content. They're all into creating their own stuff. So he dropped a 30-minute video that was sick, just talking about his training before the draft, what his mindset is. Watch it, and you get the idea that, okay, the mentals are there. When he catches up to the NFL in terms of knowing exactly what he needs to do, you could be looking at a Hall of Famer starting from this season. And boy, would that be great if he could start off the year with a bunch of interceptions or a bunch of pass breakups. That would be great if he lived up to the billing.
I want to ask you, John, real quick about Ennis Rakestraw, because I said this yesterday that I this is my thing on it. And you pay attention to these storylines with Ennis Rakestraw, and I know he's been limited. He's been dealing with something. Is it realistic to expect, as we understand the Lions, to kind of do this with players? I mean, they did this with Jahmyr Gibbs, and he was ready to go immediately, but they kind of eased him along. Is it more fair to expect an Ennis Rakestraw, you start seeing snaps from him later in the season? Because I just think the reps now with the first team defense, and again, you could speak on this more. I was not there. I just think he's kind of limited right now. And I think when the season approaches, they have enough guys to kind of fill that void until he's ready. Is that a fair assessment? Maybe Ennis Rakestraw midway or later in the season start to come along rather than earlier, like people I think expected?
Yeah, absolutely fair. He's getting a lot of third team work, being brought along slowly, clearly coming back from an injury, and they don't want to clearly have anything impact him before training camp. But what I love about him is I got a chance to see him, and he put Williams into the ground. Now, it probably would have been a penalty, but these guys love to hit. They love to be physical. They love to press and do some things. So, look, man, I think that Ennis Rakestraw is a violent football player, but at the same token, I love the fact that he took his check and got his grandpa something. And I thought that meant something, because when you give back to those that have done you well, it's a sign of good character. I think he's going to work hard. I think it's great he'll learn behind Branch and Amik Robertson. So I think that for Ennis Rakestraw, you're going to see a guy that I think that when all said and done is going to be a contributor, make some plays later on in the year. I do think that when you look at the Lions, man, how lucky was it that he fell? And probably partly was due to the injuries, but the key for him, and he may even, you look at it and he may struggle with injuries because his frame, playing a physical style week after week, he may have to kind of dial that back just a little bit, but I could see it. I think that I projected a pick 6 for Arnold, and wouldn't it be great if Ennis Rakestraw in the later half of the year just lights up Justin Jefferson coming over the middle and Ennis Rakestraw lights him up? I could see 1 or 2 highlight destructions from Ennis Rakestraw this year. And when it comes, it'll be great. It'll open the eyes of the NFL world about what Ennis Rakestraw can bring to the table. Look out for it. He's going to destroy somebody.
That's kind of where I was coming from with it too, is I think Lukas was really the first to mention this with Rakestraw, because we always thought, okay, Ennis Rakestraw, what can he be? A lot of corner. And he was like, hey, listen, man, he could play in the slot a little bit. He could play at nickel. And he Lukas, you always said he's perfectly fit to play nickel as well. So a storyline to mention. We appreciate you, Doc, so much.
Real quick, can I throw one more out there? I've got one more thing, because I think, Doc, I read your article today, and this was in it as well. And I think the people, it's obviously not wide receivers or DBs or anything, but the kicking battle that's going on right now with Turner and with Badgley there. I read your article that Badgley again today went, I think it was 3 for 5 and missed a 56 and 55, I believe. And Turner went 5 for 5.
Perfect.
So,
perfect.
Yeah. What is your outlook on that? Obviously, it's probably now in minicamp. My guess is it's not a big of a deal until you get to training camp, and potentially you still see Jake Bates come in and another guy come compete. Where do you kind of see that going? Like, if you had to say, like, right now this guy's winning, is Badgley winning that, or is, because there has been some misses, it feels like, with Badgley the last 2 days.
Yeah. Look at it like, it stunk that Bates kind of fizzled, because he was drawing a lot of attention. People still kind of know his name and want him to come in for the competition. But pay attention to Turner. He's been consistent, has some leg, showcased it a little bit. He's not, Turner's not known for his leg, but I think there's situations in which, Badgley, to me, doesn't give me confidence. When I see that fact that he got beat out by Patterson a couple times, he was off the team, back on the team. And it just always seems like, and maybe it's time for me to point blank ask the special teams guy, like, what gives you confidence about this guy? They've said it a couple times that in practice he's there, but it's been inconsistent. And that's what you're kind of seeing, is that in situations, but here's the crazy part. Team reps and then individuals at OTAs, he was crushing it. Like Badgley had a stretch there where he was going, distance and everything like that. But it's different when there's pressure and everybody's watching and the whole team is there. And Badgley flinched today and Turner didn't. So I'll say this for the Michigan supporters out there. Turner seems like he's got the mental edge, like stone cold. Like, hey, he goes out there, handles his business, walks in the locker room. And that could be something when the opportunity comes, is that he's got ice in his veins and he might have an opportunity to take the job. So I would not be surprised if Badgley loses the competition. But he's the favorite right now, but he's got you're only as good as your next week as a kicker. And it just sucks that Bates kind of started missing some field goals that were chip shots. So it was just I don't know if the Lions will take a chance on Bates, maybe just for the draw. I mean, literally, if you're Bates, stick around and see. But I think that, at this point, Bates would just be there to sell some tickets and draw up some interest. I don't think that he can come in right now and dominate and win a kicking battle. But hey, I'd love to see it. It would not be something that would be for a content creator. It would not be something that I would be disappointed in if they signed Bates. But I just think that the competition is going to be between Turner and Badgley.
We'll get to some member questions because the people want to ask you some questions here. So we'll start us off. Alan W. Mailbag. Doc, is Davenport seriously already hurt? What's your honest take on our edge situation? If so, what's going on with the Davenport being hurt?
Yeah, you look at it, and the Lions do not rush players back, period. They take their time with players, DJ Reader as well, and you recognize the situation in which Davenport missed a big chunk of last year. So I would not expect Davenport at minicamp. I think that they're taking it nice and easy. DJ Reader, the same kind of situation. Yeah, I don't think he's hurt. I think that he's recovering from the injury, and
Gotcha.
at this point in time, that he's not in a position to be out there. And he's not already hurt. He hasn't been out there. So he's been out there working, but he's not already hurt. He hasn't participated at all. So he's coming in to a situation in which the first time probably we'll see him will be at training camp. And my honest take on the edge situation, if he's not there, I still think that you guys are starting to see Wingo's around the football. He drew double teams yesterday. He's got some edge prowess. James Houston looked good today. He's got speed and power. So you need as many edge rushers as possible. You can never have enough. So, and you look at it and you say, right now, Davenport is behind, but with time and how quickly he can come back and acclimate, I think Davenport can make some noise.
ETN question, which corner do you want guarding Puka in week 1?
Yeah, you want Carlton Davis, one-on-one. I think that Puka is, man, you saw the playoff game and how great he played and performed. You're going to want to handle business. And but I think a lot of people, too, would say opportunities, if it comes, throw Terrion out there if there's an opportunity for a spell, see what he can do. But no, Puka Nacua should give Detroit Lions fans some concern week 1, prime time, and he looks like the real deal. And you see the work that he does. His second-year jump, my goodness, if that's what he did his rookie year, whew, Carlton Davis, no doubt about it.
Yeah, agreed. Zach, Doc, has Malcolm Rodriguez been getting any reps on offense?
I have not seen reps on offense from defensive players. Wasn't that great to hear today? Dan Campbell joking around a little bit. Could you imagine seeing Aleem McNeil as fullback getting a run? And all the reporters are just loving it. They're just saying, you know what? Just once or twice, give the football to Sewell. Hand it off to Sewell. Hand it off to Decker. An offensive line handoff would be great. But Dan Campbell did say that, a great question was asked about, hey, do you believe in still having a fullback since Kapinda is not on the roster? And Dan Campbell said, yeah, we still believe in it in the right situation. And they've talked maybe about Aleem McNeil. Rodrigo could do it. But in this situation, when you got David Montgomery and you got Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't think you need to be giving a lot of love to anybody else. You can just turn around and hand it off and handle business. Or you got Sam Laporta. He's going to be getting a lot of red zone targets too.
500 First Legion, thank you for the $2. Says, how good has Jack Campbell been? Because we've been hearing a lot of positive things about him.
Yeah, which is great in that as an NFL reporter, you kind of get vibes of what to write about at certain times. So yesterday, before minicamp, I said, what's probably going to be something we see? And my topic was, I think the key at minicamp is going to be the growth of the second-year players. And one of the players we talk about naturally is Jack Campbell. And yesterday he had 2 interceptions. Looks a lot more comfortable. Alex Anzalone talked about it in terms of how comfortable he looks. He's a monster in terms of just how, look, man, a guy like that gets a taste of the NFC Championship game and then loses and feels that he's partly to blame, that guy's going to be hungry to excel and play at a high level. How good is Jack Campbell? real good. Chris Spielman, good. Leader, good. And when he's out there, he's going to do some things this year that will impress people. I think that Jack Campbell is going to be around the football, going to make tackles, and hopefully his second-year growth continues. He's been good out there, and Alex Anzalone is a great influence on him. And I think Jack Campbell has the right mindset, which is, I'm here to ball. I'm here to get better. All that other fluff, don't need it. And that's what I love about Jack Campbell.
You don't
He's
need that
great.
fluff.
All business, Jack Campbell.
Is Jack back in his rightful position?
I think that might be the case in that, you always try to move people around and handle business. But I love the opportunities that this Lions team has to try and test these players to put them at different spots. But putting a player at a comfortable spot, my goodness, he could wreak havoc running downhill, stopping the run, blitzing at times, or having a little bit of an opportunity to be around the intermediate there in coverage. So hopefully he gets the opportunity to continue to read his keys, make the plays. And when you understand the game more, the game slows down a little bit. And I just see great things for Jack Campbell. I can't wait to see when everybody's back. You guys, we're talking about the Lions football team without some of their guys. Could you imagine DJ Reader, Marcus Davenport back, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, adding those 6 guys at training camp? Just find any avenue to get to training camp. And probably I'm not a fan of New York or New Jersey, but my dumbass is going to have to figure out a way to get there to cover the joint practices, because there'll be some opportunities to learn a lot about this football team. And one guy I don't want to miss seeing develop is Jack Campbell. I love his attitude, and he was nice. He gave me time. And even though I posted a video of him getting tackled by his lady, I don't know if he knew that was me that posted that, but he was always nice and gave me time and gave a lot of the reporters a lot of insight. But I didn't know that video, I just thought it was clowning around, and it went viral. And I was like, oh shit, but then he was cool. Like, he never brought it up. Maybe I did think maybe he smirked at me a couple of times, like knowing that I was the clown that put that out there. But man, Jack Campbell just reminds me of Chris Spielman. I can't wait for him to get out there.
Yeah,
that'll be exciting to watch Jack Campbell and Breece Hall go at it and join practices. That'll be a good matchup.
No Last question, because we had the debate about this and who's returning punts and kicks. That guy up north says non-member question.
Kick return, not punt return. Kick return.
Kick return. What do you think? Who do you think the kick returner will be this year, this season? Narrow it down to 2 at least.
That's a good question. Which is always interesting is that when you cover an NFL team, it's offense, defense, special teams. And, for the most part, special teams doesn't draw a lot of interest in terms of readers. So I focus on it, but not super intently. So I've seen it. And, you could look at Khalif Raymond. You could look at Vaki as somebody that does it. If Williams makes the team, he's a speedster, and opportunities there. It's always interesting and intriguing to see the kick return, especially now on the new kickoff in regards to how that can play out. I could see a lot of offensive weapons even trying the I can't wait to see it in the preseason. Do they? Are they willing to put some offensive weapons out there in the new kickoff? But if I narrowed it down to 2, I would say maybe Khalif Raymond is one that's a candidate to make some plays. And being that he did, at least on a punt return, have a return for the Lions. As a kick returner, I will say this. It's something I don't pay attention to. It doesn't interest me significantly. But now with the new rules, maybe I'll pay attention to it a little bit closer. Hey, if you got, don't want to have a situation in which you throw a superstar out there, but Amon-Ra St. Brown can do it all. But I think realistically, maybe I'll say receivers, Khalif Raymond, Maurice Alexander, maybe number 1. That guy's been making some noise and catching some passes from Hendon Hooker too. So I would say probably the leaders in the clubhouse would be Khalif Raymond and Maurice Alexander.
It's interesting. I will say I'll call a spade here. What it is. A couple of days ago we got in a big debate that I've been paying attention to the kick return stuff around, and there's been rumors throughout and obviously Pat McAfee is a special team specialist, and he's talked about it a lot on his show, that being now that they have to kick it within the 10-yard line in the end zone, and the kickoff team cannot run until essentially you catch it. That a couple people came on his show and said, don't be shocked if you see some superstars, Tyreek Hills, guys Jahmyr like Gibbs. That, Jahmyr Gibbs. If you see those players back there, because of the field position, that instead of getting the ball at the 25, you could get the ball at the 40, 50, and you only need 1 or 2 first downs to get a field goal. And my point was, it was more so Jameson Williams back there because of how fast he is, to where by the time he gets to the 30-yard line, like, they're just going to be getting to him, and he's going to be able to make him a play. And like the field position, essentially, like the guys were saying, Booner, special teams, you don't want your guys on there special teams. My argument was, this is not special teams anymore. This is now a field position battle. To me, kick return now almost turns into essentially a play off of the offense, to where you have basically a free go at it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And look, there's rule. And another thing too is there's rules. Like, I can't specifically talk about the formations, but once you guys go out there and see it in person, it's all game. So go out there, tweet it, because once you guys start seeing it live in person at open practice, then it's fair game. And I can say who's on the gunner team and who's all that. And like I said, there's so many rules. I just try to be ultra clear of what to report, what not to report, and things like that. So get out there, make sure you get out there and report it.
You didn't say it, but by a little bit of the answer that I heard there, maybe there's something to my point over here that might be. I'm just going to throw it out there, fellas. I'm just going to throw it out there, fellas.
I understand.
Get mad you want, but the kick return is now an offensive play. That's the reason the NFL changed it.
I understand the line of thinking, John. I didn't want JMO just to get an extra hit on special teams.
Yeah. No extra hits. So in the chat, hey, like I said, I asked the question Michael put out there to Dan Campbell. If you have a question that you need answered, throw it in the chat when I leave, and I'll browse through it, or the boys will send it to me. What are you guys interested in on Thursday? What do you need to know from Dan Campbell? What catches your attention? What should I definitely be reporting on? I'm hitting all the big stuff with Hendon and JMO and all that, but what else are you guys interested in paying attention to Thursday, the last day of minicamp? And so, to the point in the chat, somebody named Michael put something in there. I can nod. Have I seen something of that potential nature? So, yeah.
Look at what a pro. That's all I love. Look at Doc, man. What a pro. No wonder he's been doing this for so long. God, dude.
Doc, I'm going to send you some ideas for some questions for the people.
Yeah,
I'm going to shoot you over some stuff, because there's some things I think I'm interested to know. DPJ, that would be a good one. I would love to know.
Yeah, why not? That. Listen. In practice, you think about it. If the reps take 5 minutes, how many receivers do you think are back there? 1, 2,
yeah, it's true.
3, 4, 5, 6. So they run it through it all. And yeah, I don't like to take the thing off the cap for those that pay attention to it. I'm just lazy. I don't know if you're supposed to, not supposed to. I just get the hat, wear it, and it's all good.
I do the same shit, Doc. We appreciate you. By the way, shout out to Doc asking that Matthew Betts question, because I was on the stand that same day, Doc. I was on the stand, and there's accountability that had to be had, and I had to have a conversation. But hey, until next Wednesday, you can check out Doc's stuff. Link will be in the description. All Lions. He's providing constant news about what's happening with minicamp, and you can listen to his podcast every single Thursday, Detroit Sports Podcast. Until next Wednesday, Doc, we appreciate you. Thank you, man.
Appreciate you, Doc.
Love everything. Thank you, boys. Get after it and let's go. It's going to be a fun time to recap everything that happened at minicamp and the one last session that they have next Monday. So make sure you always stick with All Lions and Crunch Time for everything related to Detroit Lions, man. It's good stuff.
Hell yeah.
Go, Doc.
Go, Doc.
John Maakaron. The guy just brings
legend.